The impossible mission begins in the dark silence of space. A broken ship floated above a dying planet. The stars looked cold and far, and no help was coming. The Earth's last hope was inside this ship, but now it seemed like nothing was. Left. Jack Carter slowly opened his eyes. At first, he thought he was dead. His body felt heavy, and everything was quiet except for a faint alarm somewhere far away. He blinked and saw a cracked ceiling above him, wires hanging down like black vines. A red light was flashing on the wall. He tried to move. Pain shot through his side. His suit was torn, and his oxygen meter was blinking dangerously low. Jack groaned and pulled himself up. Where is everyone? He whispered. There was no answer. He looked around the room. The control panel was smashed. Smoke floated in the air. The windows were shattered, showing nothing but stars and pieces of metal drifting outside. He pressed a button on his wrist. Team? Can anyone hear me? This is Jack. Please respond. Static. Then a strange voice came through the radio. Cannot escape? Surrender, human? Jack froze. The voice was not human. It was deep, cold, and full of hate. He turned his head slowly toward the speaker. Who is this? You already know, the voice answered. Then it laughed, a low, echoing laugh, and went silent. Jack's heart raced. He stumbled to the control panel and tried to turn on the screens. Most of them were dead, but one flickered to life. He saw a huge alien ship outside. Its black surface glowed faintly, and strange blue lights crawled across its skin. It looked alive, like a giant creature waiting to strike. Jack knew that ship. Everyone knew it. It was the enemy's flagship, the one that had destroyed Earth's defenses, one by one. Nobody had ever returned alive after facing it. He swallowed hard. They're still here, he muttered. And they know I'm alive. Suddenly, he heard something else, a scraping sound. His eyes snapped to the broken window. At first, he thought it was just debris floating outside. But then he saw it clearly. Something was moving. Something with long arms and sharp claws. It crawled slowly over the wreckage of his ship, its eyes glowing faintly green. Jack ducked below the window and held his breath. The creature stopped. It tilted its head as if listening. Then it began to tear open the side of the ship. Metal screeched. Panels bent and cracked. Jack's mind raced. He had no weapons, no backup, and nowhere to run. Then he saw it, a strange device lying near. The control panel. It was not human made. It glowed faintly purple and hummed softly, as if alive. Jack stared at it. He didn't know what it was, but he felt something in his gut telling him to take it. He reached out and grabbed the device. It was warm, and for a second, he thought he heard whispers in his head. The alien outside roared and smashed. Another panel. Jack held the device tightly and whispered to himself, I'll finish this mission, even if I die. He stood up and looked at the alien ship through the cracked window. He didn't know how yet, but he had to get there. He had to stop them. Somehow. The scraping sound grew louder. Pieces of the wall fell to the floor. Jack turned toward the emergency airlock. He strapped on his helmet and checked the oxygen one last time. Only 10 minutes left. No choice. He opened the airlock, and cold space rushed in. For a second, he almost let go, but then he saw the alien crawling through the breach behind him. Its eyes locked on his. Jack didn't wait. He pushed off into space, heading toward the massive alien ship. The void was silent except for the sound of his own breathing. The enemy ship loomed larger and larger, like a sleeping beast. He felt the strange device in his hand pulse once and glow brighter. What are you? He whispered to it. No answer. Only the cold stars above and the black monster waiting ahead. Jack gritted his teeth and kept moving forward, his eyes fixed on the impossible mission before him. The voice came again in his helmet, soft and mocking. Run, human. It will not matter. Jack ignored it. In his chest, fear and determination burned together. If he was going to die, he would die fighting. And so he drifted closer to the enemy ship, holding the strange alien device, ready to face whatever came next. Behind him, his own broken ship vanished into the darkness. Ahead of him, the unknown waited. Jack Carter took a deep breath and whispered, "Let's see who surrenders first." And with that, he disappeared into the shadows of the alien flagship. Inside the enemy's trap, the alien flagship was a giant shadow in the stars. It floated there silently, like a sleeping predator. Jack Carter drifted closer and closer, holding the strange glowing device in his hand. The surface of the ship was black and smooth, but as he approached, he saw strange patterns crawling across it, faint blue veins of light, pulsing like a heartbeat. For a moment, he almost turned back. It didn't look like a ship. It looked alive. His oxygen meter beeped angrily, reminding him that time was running out. He adjusted his grip and pushed himself forward. And something unexpected happened. The alien device in his hand glowed brighter, and a circular hatch appeared on the surface of the ship, right in front of him, as if it had been waiting for him all along. Jack hesitated. He could feel the heat of his own breath inside the helmet. "Here goes nothing," he muttered and touched the hatch. It opened without a sound. Jack slipped inside, and the hatch sealed behind him, cutting him off from the stars. The corridor he entered was strange. It was dark, but not empty. The walls were alive, shifting slightly, as if breathing. The air smelled faintly of metal and something sweet, almost like blood. Jack floated forward. His boots touched the floor, soft and warm, not like metal at all. He swallowed and whispered to himself, "This is not a ship. It's something else." He turned a corner and stopped dead. The walls here were covered in glowing alien symbols. They moved like liquid, flowing across the surface. Strange shadows slithered along the edges, just out of sight. Then he heard a sound, faint but clear, a scream. Jack froze. It was a human scream. He followed the sound down another passage. The walls here were darker, and the air was colder. Then he saw them. Through a thin glass-like wall, rows of humans floated inside glowing tubes. Their eyes were closed, their bodies limp. Some had strange alien marks on their skin. Jack pressed his hand to the glass and whispered, "Oh no." They were alive. But barely. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind him. He spun around, but saw nothing. "Stay calm," he told himself. He kept walking, holding the alien device tighter. Farther inside, the corridors opened into a massive chamber. Jack stopped at the doorway and stared. It was like stepping into a nightmare. The chamber was huge and round, with no ceiling he could see. Strange lights floated in the air, like tiny stars. The walls were covered in long black cables that moved like snakes, connecting to a massive throne in the center. And on that throne sat the alien commander. Jack felt his stomach turn. The commander was taller than any human, its skin black and silver, with 6 glowing eyes that all turned toward him at once. It smiled, or at least Jack thought it did. "So," it said, its voice deep and cold. "The human who dares to enter my ship." Jack said nothing. He tightened his grip on the device. "You are braver than most," the commander continued, "but also more foolish." Jack took a step closer. "Let them go," he said, pointing toward the tubes full of humans. "Let them go, and maybe you'll live." The commander laughed, a terrible, echoing laugh. "You are in no position to make demands," it said. "This is no longer your fight. This is your end. Jack's eyes darted around the chamber. He noticed something behind the throne. A glowing panel, pulsing red. He knew it meant something. The commander stood and slowly walked toward him. Jack backed up slightly, but held his ground. You humans, the commander said, circling him. You break, you bleed, you die, and yet you keep coming back. It stopped and leaned closer to Jack, its many eyes studying him. Why? It asked quietly. Why do you fight when you know you cannot win? Jack stared right back and said, because someone has to. For the first time, the commander didn't smile. It tilted its head, then leaned closer to his ear and whispered something. But Jack couldn't understand it. The words were not in any human language. But somehow, they chilled him to his core. Before Jack could react, 2 alien guards appeared from the shadows. Their claws grabbed his arms and shoved him into a glowing chair that rose from the floor. Straps of light wrapped around his wrists and ankles. Jack struggled, but the light burned his skin when he pulled. The commander stood over him now. You see, it said, even your courage cannot save you. Your kind will fall, and you will watch it happen. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, but he noticed something. When the commander whispered to him earlier, the alien device in his hand glowed faintly in response. It was almost as if the device understood the words and was waiting. The commander stepped back, and the guards disappeared into the shadows again. Jack sat in the glowing chair, alone. Now, he stared at the strange red panel behind the throne. The device in his hand pulsed softly, as if whispering to him. Jack closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and thought, this isn't over. Not yet. Above him, the lights dimmed, and the alien commander's voice filled the chamber one last time. Let us see, human, how much pain you can endure. Jack opened his eyes and whispered back, we'll see how much you can take. And somewhere deep in the ship, something began to stir. The alien commander's game. The chamber was quiet now. Jack Carter sat strapped into the strange glowing chair, his breath heavy in the cold air. His hands burned where the light bonds cut into his skin, and every movement sent a sharp pain through his body, but his eyes stayed fixed on the red panel behind the throne. The alien commander stood in front of him, its tall figure still and imposing. Its 6 eyes glowed like distant stars, watching him with something that looked almost like curiosity. Humans, the commander finally spoke, its voice low and echoing. You confuse me. Jack said nothing. The commander began to circle him slowly, like a predator studying its prey. You are small, weak, breakable, it continued. And yet here you are, sitting in my ship, thinking you can change what cannot be changed. Jack clenched his fists. You talk too much, he said through gritted teeth. Maybe that's why you keep losing. For the first time, the commander stopped. A strange sound came from it. Not laughter, not anger, but something between the two. You think this is about winning or losing? It asked, leaning closer. You think you are here because you fought your way in? No, human. You are here because I let you in. Jack froze. What? He whispered. The commander leaned even closer, its breath cold against his cheek. This ship chose you. The device in your hand, it only answers to one who is already marked. Do you understand what that means? Jack stared at the alien device, still glowing faintly in his palm despite the restraints. I don't care what it means, he finally said, as long as it helps me kill you. The commander straightened and stepped back. That, it said softly, is the answer I was looking for. Without warning, the floor around the chair began to glow. Jack felt it move, sinking downward, into darkness. Walls of black and blue light rose around him, shifting into strange shapes. When the chair finally stopped, he was in a new chamber, larger, colder, even stranger than before. Rows of alien creatures stood on platforms high above, their faces hidden in shadow. Their eyes glowed faintly, watching him silently. The commander's voice boomed from above. "Welcome, human, to the game." Jack looked around. "What game?" he demanded. The voice laughed. "The game of survival. Few have played. None have." "One." Jack struggled against the restraints, but they held firm. One of the walls suddenly vanished, revealing a long dark corridor filled with shifting lights and shadowy figures moving at the edges. "If you wish to live," the commander said, "you will walk this path. If you survive, I will let your people go. If you fail, you will die, and so will they." Jack glared upward. "And if I kill you first?" the commander chuckled. "That human is also part of the game." The bonds around his wrists and ankles dissolved. Jack stood slowly, his legs weak but steady. He gripped the alien device tightly and took a deep breath. "Fine," he said. "Let's play." As he stepped into the corridor, the walls behind him closed silently. Darkness swallowed him. The floor was uneven, soft in some places and sharp in others. Whispers floated through the air, strange alien words that made his skin crawl. Something moved in the shadows ahead. Jack raised the device. It glowed brighter now, casting faint purple light. It revealed claw marks on the walls, and what looked like bones scattered across the floor. He swallowed hard and kept moving. The first creature came out of the dark without warning. It was fast, a blur of teeth and claws. Jack dove to the side just as it slashed where he'd been standing. The alien device flared in his hand, and a bolt of light shot out, striking the creature and sending it tumbling into the wall. Jack stood, breathing hard, one down, but then he heard more, many more, skittering in the darkness. He ran. The corridor twisted and turned, sometimes splitting into two paths. He chose at random, following the faint hum of the device. The whispers grew louder, and the walls began to shift, closing in around him and pulling back suddenly, as if alive. At one point, the floor beneath him disappeared entirely, and he fell into a pit of thick, sticky black liquid. Clawing his way out, he gasped for air and kept running. At the end of one passage, he stumbled into another chamber, this one lined with mirrors that didn't show his reflection, but instead showed him, dying. In each mirror, a different death: claws, teeth, fire, suffocation. Jack stopped and stared at them. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. The commander's voice echoed in the chamber. "This is your future, human. Every path ends in your death, but choose and walk forward anyway." Jack gritted his teeth and smashed one of the mirrors with the device. "Not today," he said. The final passage was the hardest. The air grew thin, and his chest burned with every breath. Shapes moved around him, whispering in his ear, trying to make him turn back. He stumbled more than once, but forced himself to keep moving forward. Finally, the corridor opened into yet another chamber, and there, at the center, stood the alien commander. Jack stopped and raised the device. The commander tilted its head and smiled faintly. "You surprise me again, human," it said. "Few even make it this far, and yet here you stand, ready to die." Jack took a step closer. "Not ready to die," he replied. "Ready to win." The commander's eyes narrowed. "That," it said, "is why you interest me." It leaned close, and in a low voice only Jack could hear, it whispered something, the same strange words it had said before. But this time, Jack understood them, and his blood ran cold. He looked down at the device, which now glowed brighter than ever, pulsing as if alive. "You," Jack breathed. "You planned this." The commander only smiled. "Welcome to the end of the game." It said. Then the floor beneath Jack vanished, and he fell into darkness. A deadly escape. Jack Carter fell through blackness. For a moment, he thought he was dead. The air rushed past him, cold and sharp. His arms flailed, and the strange alien device in his hand glowed faintly, slowing his fall somehow. Then, with a hard jolt, he landed on something soft. He rolled over, coughing and gasping for breath, and looked around. He was in another chamber, much larger than before. But this one was different. The walls were covered in strange vines that glowed blue, twisting and writhing like snakes. The air was thick and hot, and the ground pulsed faintly under his feet, as if he was standing inside the heart of some giant creature. Above him, a faint voice echoed down from the darkness. "You have done well, human. Now let's see if you can escape." It was the commander's voice. Jack clenched his jaw and stood. "I'm not playing your game anymore," he muttered. The vines on the walls suddenly whipped toward him, trying to grab him. Jack ducked and sprinted forward into the maze of corridors ahead. The corridors here were tighter, darker. Every turn seemed to lead deeper into the ship instead of out. The walls whispered in his ears, strange words, alien words, trying to confuse him. Jack ignored them. He trusted only the faint hum of the device in his hand. It pulled him forward, glowing, brighter whenever he chose the right path. He moved fast. His oxygen meter flashed red. He didn't care anymore. Around one corner, he almost ran straight into a group of alien soldiers. They were tall and armed with long, sharp weapons that glowed faintly green. Jack froze. For a second, no one moved. Then, chaos. The soldiers lunged at him, claws slashing. Jack raised the alien device, and it shot a blinding beam of purple light, throwing the first soldier backward. The others roared and attacked. Jack ducked under one strike, grabbed its weapon, and jammed it into the wall, where it exploded. In a shower of sparks, he ran, hearing their footsteps behind him. He burst through another door and found himself in what looked like a prison chamber. Rows of humans were trapped in tall glass tubes, unconscious and covered in strange glowing marks. Jack stopped, staring. It was worse than he'd imagined. There were hundreds of them. He smashed his fist against one of the tubes. It cracked, but didn't break. The alien device pulsed again. Jack touched it to the glass, and the tube opened with a hiss. The human inside, a young woman, fell into his arms, coughing weakly. She looked up at him, confused. Who are you?" she whispered. "Someone who's getting you out of here," Jack said. He moved quickly, freeing as many as he could. Soon, a small group of humans stood behind him, weak but awake. "Can you walk?" he asked them. Some nodded. Some just stared at him, terrified. "Then follow me," he said. "And don't stop." Jack led them back into the corridors. The alien soldiers were close now, their shouts and the sound of their weapons growing louder behind them. Jack found a staircase, if it could even be called that, a strange spiral of floating platforms. Leading upward, he turned to the group. "Go," he shouted. One by one, the humans began to climb. Jack stayed at the bottom, firing blasts of light from the device to slow the soldiers. He could see the alien commander now, watching from above, silent, its 6 glowing eyes fixed on him. When the last human reached the top, Jack started to climb. Halfway up, the platforms began to crumble beneath his feet. He jumped from one to another, narrowly avoiding a fall into the glowing pit below. At the top, the humans huddled near a heavy door. Jack slammed the device into the door, and it hissed open, revealing a wide docking bay. There, in the middle of the room, was a small human shuttle, battered but still intact. "Get in," Jack yelled. The group rushed inside. Jack ran to the control panel near the docking bay doors and began pressing buttons, trying to unlock them. Behind him, the alien commander finally entered the bay. It didn't speak this time. It simply watched. As the soldiers poured into the room, Jack looked back at it, his hands still working the controls. The commander raised one hand, and the walls of the bay began to close, cutting off the exit. Jack slammed the device into the panel, and the bay doors finally began to open. He sprinted toward the shuttle as the soldiers charged. A claw slashed his shoulder, but he kept running. He leapt into the shuttle and hit the launch button. The engines roared to life. As the shuttle lifted off, Jack looked through the window one last time. The commander stood alone in the bay, its eyes glowing brighter than ever. It raised its hand and spoke, though Jack couldn't hear it anymore. Then the shuttle shot out into space, leaving the black ship behind. Inside the shuttle, the humans sat quietly, staring at Jack. One of them finally spoke. You saved us." Jack didn't answer. He sank into the pilot's seat, clutching the alien device tightly. But even as the stars rushed past, he couldn't stop thinking about what the commander had whispered to him earlier. Because now, he understood the words, and he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Somewhere behind them, in the cold black of space, the alien commander watched, and it smiled. Asterisk, the last stand. The stars streaked past the shuttle's window. But Jack Carter didn't feel any relief. The humans he'd rescued sat silently behind him, their faces pale, their bodies trembling. Some whispered to each other, some just stared blankly ahead, too shocked to speak. Jack gripped the alien device tightly in his hand. It still pulsed faintly, warm and alive, as though it shared his thoughts. But its glow was weaker now, and so was he. His shoulder still bled from the alien's claws. His arms ached. His lungs burned with every breath. Yet his mind was sharp, because he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Ahead of them, Earth came into view, a faint blue dot among the blackness. Jack's heart tightened at the sight of it. Home. But something was wrong. The closer they got, the clearer it became. The alien fleet was already there. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of black ships surrounded Earth, their glowing lights like a web of fire waiting to strike. The humans in the shuttle gasped when they saw. One of them, the young woman he'd saved first, leaned forward and whispered, "We're too late." Jack stared at the fleet for a long moment, his jaw tight. Then he shook his head. "No," he said softly. "Not yet. Not while I'm still breathing." He turned the shuttle toward one of the smaller enemy ships. The humans behind him began to panic. "What are you doing?" one man shouted. "We have to get to Earth." Jack didn't even look at him. "You go to Earth," he said. "Tell them what's coming. Tell them to prepare. But me, I'm ending this here." He stood, grabbing the alien device. "Take the controls," he told the young woman. She looked at him in shock. "But just do it." He shoved the device into a panel near the door, and it hissed open. Beyond was the empty void of space. And ahead of him, the alien fleet. Jack stepped into the airlock and sealed the inner door. He checked the oxygen left in his suit. Barely. 15 minutes. Didn't matter. He gripped the device tighter, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, "One last stand." The outer door opened. Jack launched himself into space. The alien flagship, the commander's ship, was waiting for him, larger than all the others, its black surface pulsing faintly with light. Jack drifted toward it, each second feeling longer than the last. At first, none of the ships moved. Then, the commander's voice filled his helmet. "You return." "Even now?" it asked, its tone curious. "Why?" Jack didn't answer. He landed on the surface of the flagship and slammed the alien device into it. A surface opened for him, just as before, and he slipped inside. This time, the ship was ready for him. The corridors twisted faster, the shadows deeper. Creatures crawled out of the walls. Shrieking Jack ran, firing the device's light at anything that moved. He didn't stop. He could feel it now, like a heartbeat, pulling him toward the ship's core, toward the commander. At last, he burst into the heart of the ship. The chamber was vast, glowing red and black, and at its center was the alien commander. It stood tall, waiting. Its 6 eyes glowed like fire. "You never learn," it said. Jack staggered forward, raising the device. "This ends now," he said. The commander tilted its head. "No," it replied. "This begins now." It raised its long arms, and the walls of the chamber came alive. Vines and cables lashing at Jack, claws slashing. Jack ducked and rolled, firing the device into the walls. The core of the ship glowed brighter now, a giant red sphere hanging above the commander's throne. Jack stared at it. He knew what he had to do. The commander lunged at him, moving faster than he thought possible. It struck him hard, sending him crashing to the floor. Jack groaned. Crawling toward the core, the commander stepped on his back, pinning him down. "You are never going to win," it said softly. Jack clenched his jaw, his hand still gripping the device. "I don't need to win," he gasped. "I just need to finish this." With all his strength, he twisted and drove the device deep into the floor. The chamber exploded with light. The commander howled in fury. As the walls cracked and split apart, the red core above them began to pulse wildly, then fracture. The ship itself groaned, as if in pain. Jack pulled himself up, staggering toward the core. The commander lunged again, but Jack leapt, slamming the device into the core itself. A blinding white light filled the chamber. The commander froze, its 6 eyes wide in shock. Then it whispered something Jack barely heard. "You are stronger than us." The core shattered. From outside, the humans in the shuttle watched in stunned silence as the alien flagship erupted in light. One by one, the other ships in the fleet began to falter, their lights dimming, and then they exploded, one after another, like falling stars. The humans stared in awe. The young woman pressed her hand to the window, whispering, "He did it." Inside the dying ship, Jack stood in the fading light. The commander lay at his feet, its body dissolving into black smoke. Its final words still echoed in Jack's mind. "Stronger than us." Jack smiled faintly, and the floor beneath him gave way, and he fell into the light. On Earth, the humans gathered on the surface, watching the sky as the alien fleet vanished. A recording from the shuttle played over the speakers. The commander's last words, "Tell them. The human won. Tell them. He was the strongest of us all." People cheered, cried, and whispered his name. But high above, in the quiet darkness of space, a faint purple glow still lingered. The alien device drifted there, waiting. And somewhere, unseen, a shadow moved, because the game was not truly over yet. Asterisk, the sacrifice silence. Jack Carter floated in a strange, endless white void. At first, he thought he was dead. The blinding light faded, replaced by a faint purple haze. Below him, he saw the pieces of the alien flagship, slowly dissolving into dust, scattering like stars across the blackness. His body felt heavy and light at the same time. The alien device still pulsed faintly in his hand, weak now, but alive. And then he heard it. A whisper, not from outside, but inside his mind. "You have won the battle," the voice said, calm and deep, "but you have not won the war." Jack spun around, but there was no one there. Just the voice. "Who are you?" he demanded. The voice was quiet for a moment. Then it answered, "I am the one who watches, the one who waits, and the one who chose you." Jack's stomach twisted. "You mean the commander? The one I just killed?" "No," the voice said softly. The commander was only a piece, a pawn in the greater game. As are you. Jack gritted his teeth. Stop talking in riddles. If you want to kill me, do it, but don't waste my time. The voice chuckled, low and chilling. Kill you? No, human. Not yet. You still have a choice to make. The haze around Jack shifted. Suddenly, he was standing on Earth, but not the Earth he remembered. The sky was red, the ground cracked and burning. Alien ships hovered above, raining fire down on what was left of the cities. He could hear the screams of people, see them running, falling, vanishing. Jack staggered back, his chest tight. What is this? He whispered. The voice answered. This is what happens if you leave. If you go back to your people and live your quiet little life. The war does not end. It only pauses, and then it destroys everything. Jack shook his head. No, I stopped them. I destroyed the fleet. The voice laughed softly. You destroyed a fleet, it said, not the enemy. The true enemy sleeps deeper, waiting, and only you can stop it. Jack's knees felt weak. How? He asked finally. The haze shifted again. Now he stood in a dark, endless chamber, far larger than the flagship, with walls that stretched forever. At its center was something vast and terrifying. A black heart, pulsing slowly, its surface covered in strange symbols. Each pulse sent a wave of heat and sound through the chamber. Jack could feel it. This was the source, the real enemy. Destroy it, the voice said, and the war ends forever. Jack stepped closer, feeling the heat burn his skin. Fine, he said. What do I have to do? There was a long silence. Then the voice said, you must stay. Here, forever. Your life, your mind, your soul will become the lock. Only then will it remain sealed. Jack froze. You mean I die here? You will not die, the voice said. You will simply cease to be. No pain, no joy, no thought, just silence forever. Jack stared at the black heart. Behind him. The haze shifted again, showing Earth, but this time alive, whole, beautiful. Children played under the blue sky. Cities thrived. People laughed. He closed his eyes, and then he saw the other vision again. Earth burning, the ships returning, the screams. His chest rose and fell heavily. Then another sound broke through. A voice he knew. Jack. He opened. His eyes. Was the young woman from the shuttle, standing in the haze, looking at him with tears in her eyes. You don't have to do this, she said. We can fight them, together. Don't leave us. Jack took a shaky breath. I already left, he whispered. When I climbed into that ship, when I took this thing, he held up the device. I knew I wasn't coming back. Her voice cracked. Please, come home. Jack turned to her, meeting her gaze. I am, he said softly. He faced the black heart again. It pulsed faster now. Sensing him, he walked closer. The heat was unbearable now, but he didn't stop. When he reached it, he pressed the alien device. Into its surface. The heart shuddered, and a deep sound rumbled through the chamber. The voice spoke one last time. Are you sure, human? There is no return? Jack closed his eyes and whispered, if it means they live, then yes. The heart's surface cracked open, and blinding light poured out, swallowing him whole. On Earth, in the real world, the humans watched the sky as the last remnants of the alien fleet dissolved into nothing. The young woman stood in the crowd, staring upward, her hand over her mouth. Then the clouds parted, and a faint purple glow shimmered in the sky, just for a moment, and then it was gone. Somewhere in the silence of space, a monument stood, tall and simple. On its surface, written in 2 languages, human and alien, were the words, Jack. Carter, the human who chose them all, and below it, he sacrificed everything, so we could have everything. But far, far away, deep in the shadows beyond the stars, a faint sound echoed, a heartbeat. The game was not truly over. Not yet a hero is born. The sky above Earth was quiet. For the first time in generations, no black ships prowled the stars. No alien whispers haunted the airwaves. No strange lights burned in the night, not only peace. On the ground, people gathered in the great square of New Geneva, the new capital of humanity. Children sat on their parents' shoulders. Soldiers stood at attention, and the air was thick with silence and expectation. At the center of the square stood a tall monument, smooth black stone, shaped like a flame reaching toward the heavens. Carved into its surface were two simple lines: Jack Carter, the man who defied the odds. The human who became more than human. At its base, flowers had been laid in thousands. People came every day to whisper thanks to the stone, to touch it, to feel closer to the man they called the last defender. But while Earth celebrated, far away, beyond human eyes, something stirred. Deep in the void, in that strange endless white haze where Jack had made his choice, a faint light flickered, and then a voice spoke. You are not gone yet, human. Jack opened his eyes. He stood in darkness now, not the peaceful white void, but a shadowed realm full of whispers and movement. He looked down at his hands and saw the faint purple glow of the alien device still embedded in his palm, as if it had grown into his skin. His body felt strange, not heavy, not quite his own, but alive. And then, ahead of him, a shape formed from the shadows, the silhouette of the alien commander. But this time, its voice was different. You impressed. Even me, it said softly. To stand alone, to sacrifice yourself, when your kind usually flees and hides. Remarkable. Jack stepped closer, his voice calm but steady. You're dead, he said. I ended you. The commander's shape tilted its head slightly. Did you? It asked. Or did you simply trade places with me? Jack stopped. What do you mean? The shadow around the commander dissolved, revealing not a body, but a massive black heart, the same heart Jack had destroyed. But now it pulsed faintly in rhythm with his own chest. You see it now, don't you? The commander whispered. You are the lock, but the lock still feels, still thinks, and what it thinks shapes everything. Suddenly, Jack felt it, the truth. He could feel Earth now, every life, every heartbeat, every laugh and tear and breath. He was everywhere and nowhere. He was the shield between humanity and the thing beyond the stars. He could feel the enemy still scratching at the edges of the void, testing him, waiting for him to slip. And already, it was learning. Jack closed. His eyes on Earth. The young woman, Sarah, stood before his monument again. She placed her hand on the cold stone and whispered, Jack, if you can hear me, thank you. For a fleeting moment, she thought she felt the stone warm under her hand, just slightly. And then, above her, the clouds parted and a faint purple glow rippled through the sky like a heartbeat. The crowd around her gasped. A child pointed upward. Look, the stars. They're moving. Jack stood now inside the black heart. The commander's faint voice spoke again. You think this is over, human? It is not. They will keep coming. They will keep testing you. And one day you will falter. Jack opened his eyes, staring into the darkness. Maybe, he said, but not today. He raised his hand, and the purple glow flared brighter, pushing the shadows back. And not tomorrow, he added. The whispers fell silent. The darkness recoiled. Carter stood tall, no longer just a man, no longer just human. He was something more now. The shield. The guardian dot on Earth, a new star appeared in the night sky, faint but steady. The people called it the Sentinel Star. They said it was him. Watching, waiting. Years later, when the first human ships ventured beyond the solar system, they found strange markings on the edges of space. Words, carved into the black stone of forgotten moons. Words in two languages, human and alien. Here stands the human who defied the odds. Here waits the hero who guards us all. And below it, smaller, almost hidden, when the darkness comes again, so shall I. Somewhere in the silence beyond the stars, Jack Carter smiled faintly. He tightened his grip on the alien device, felt the faint rhythm of Earth inside him, and whispered to himself, "A hero is not someone who survives. A hero is someone who refuses to stop fighting." And with that, he turned to face the darkness once more. Ready. The end.